For food, Spain, like by far. For science, I would say the US. For like work-life balance and like having a happy life, I would say Stockholm is a great place.
You've been in Spain,
Yes,
then you moved to France,
yeah,
then you came to Sweden,
yes.
and in the middle of your PhD, you came to the US, to Harvard for PhD visiting position. That's a really impressive.
I'm from a very small city in the region of Madrid.
Are you a fan of sports? As a Spanish person, you should love soccer or football.
Well, sorry to disappoint. No, I don't follow
No.
soccer so much. I know this is the universal question you get when you say you're Spanish. Oh, you're from Spain, like Madrid or Barcelona, like. It's 5 p.m. here, but it's so dark already. It's been dark for a couple of hours.
Which city are you living?
I'm in Stockholm.
Stockholm. It's
Yeah.
the capital, right?
Yes.
Okay, I was checking your CV. You have really interesting path. You
Thank you.
you've been in Spain,
Yes.
then you moved to France,
Yeah.
then you came to Sweden,
Yes.
and in the middle of your PhD, you came to the US, to Harvard for PhD visiting position. That's a really impressive and interesting to see this diverse adventures from a PhD student in her background. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, and then I can dig into more questions.
Yes, of course. But as you said, I'm from Spain. I was born and raised there, and I did basically all my studies there until bachelor's, and then I moved to France for my master's, and then eventually I made my way up to Sweden for my PhD. And I think since 2018, I've been working on microfluidics and antibiotic resistance, and that's sort of my field and what I like. And more on like, I guess, the personal side, I'm a swimmer. I love doing sports and just being outdoors. And yeah, I think that's a good summary.
So that's interesting. We are working in the same field. I am
Yeah.
also working on microfluidics. It's been over 6, 7 years. But I don't want to make this podcast for microfluidic experts. So I'm going to ask more general questions. So, what made you to take such an international path?
I mean, I guess I felt like the opportunities that I had in Spain were not um, very good, but I don't mean that like in a mean way. I just guess like for this specific field that I was working on, I couldn't find many groups that were maybe interesting for me. Initially, my plan was to come back, so I found this master's in Paris in the IPGG Institute in Paris, that is like an institute just dedicated for microfluidics. And then I knew for sure I wanted to do microfluidics, so my plan initially was to um, go for my master's there and then come back to Spain and then see about PhD in Spain. I like that was my initial plan. And then while I was there and I was looking for PhD opportunities, it didn't seem like I could not find really like that project that I wanted to work on in Spain at that moment. And I found it in Sweden. So then I just said, okay, let's go for it.
That's great. So, how different these countries are from each other in case of
Very different.
science?
But in terms of science, I mean, I think they're both good. I think my feeling is like we have a bit more resources in Sweden, but that might just be like um, comparing the two labs I've worked in, right? Like not the same not the whole country, but I feel there are more resources or more international projection in Sweden than in Spain. Also a little bit more than in France. But yeah, maybe just like the labs I've been working on, like my lab in Sweden, like really focused on this like international projection. So we were very much encouraged to go to conferences abroad and all these things where I felt maybe I wouldn't have had the same opportunities in
I
Spain.
see. I see. What made you interested in biomedical engineering?
Well, I think that's kind of easy. Like, I've always wanted to be a doctor, but I didn't want to deal with the patients. I think that was the main thing for me. I was like, I am a people person, but I don't know. I felt like this was maybe not where I wanted to go. And then I also really liked maths and physics and engineering in general. And then when I heard about biomedical engineering, for me, it was like, okay, this is perfect. So then I went for a few talks at the university when I was in high school, and I loved it. So I was like, okay, like yeah, let's go.
What is your PhD project? Can you tell us in a simple way that everybody can understand?
Yeah. So I know Harry, you also work on sepsis. So I
Oh,
will.
yeah.
So basically, for those that don't know, sepsis in a very like general form that everyone can understand is like when you have an infection, your body reacts very heavily to it, and in some of those cases, you might even find bacteria in blood, in the blood, right? So what I've been trying to do for the past 4 years is that when you get like a blood sample from the patient, because that's how it's standardly done, they will take a blood sample, they will put it to culture so that the bacteria grow, and then they will detect whether there is bacteria or not. So what we are, but that takes a very long time. So what I'm trying to do is like accelerate all that process, like basically speed it up. So when you take that blood sample, instead of putting it to culture, to do a sample prep and then put it in a microfluidic device so that you can see those bacteria growing in a much faster time. So then you can basically in a few hours or in a few almost even minutes say, oh, do we have bacteria in this in the blood of this patient or not? So that's, I think, in big words, what I've been trying to do for the past 4 years.
That's really interesting. By microfluidics. A lot of cool stuff happening in microfluidics, and I
Yeah.
really love this field. Okay, so which year you are right now?
So I guess it's considered fifth year. I have a few more months to go. I'm planning my defense for beginning of March. So I'm at the very end of it.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, what is the plan after PhD?
I don't know. There's no plan. No, there are many plans. So just I don't want to discourage anyone listening, but my feeling is like the market is not super good right now. So I don't know. I'm trying to open my mind for everything. My plan, I think, ideally would be to join perhaps a startup. I think I have the entrepreneurial mindset and like the willingness to put in the time, and I think it's like a good transition from academia into industry. So yeah, the plan is most likely to leave academia and then move into industry somehow. And if it can be through a startup, I think that's probably what would be the best for me.
That's great. So you've been in the US also. So are you planning to come back to do some cool stuff in the US, or you're gonna stick with the country you are right now?
But so my plan initially is to move to Switzerland because I have some family there, so that would be the ideal case scenario. So that's what I'm where I'm looking for jobs mainly. Then my second option is to stay in Stockholm because I really love this place and this city. And I mean, going to Switzerland is very nice because then I get to be a bit closer to Spain. Sweden is a bit far and the winters are very tough. But no, my idea in general is to stay in Europe. But I mean, I really loved Boston. As you said, I was there for 6 months during my PhD and I loved this place. I was in love with the city, with the people, with the university. So if an opportunity comes up in Boston, I will take it. Like, on a heartbeat. Like, okay, yes, I'm going. So that's the, I guess, like, having no plan right now, it's sort of an advantage because I'm just like open to whatever comes.
Yeah, I totally understand. I am exactly in the same position. I recently graduated, and now I'm looking for a lot of different things. Academia, industry, it depends. Yeah, what the market also is not really great. Even in the US, with having this huge market, but still it's hard to find to secure a position.
Mm.
So it depends on the market also on the other side. But as you
Would you
said, I also
consider
prefer
coming,
to be.
would you consider coming to Europe?
Ah, that's a great question. So it's been 5 years I'm living in the US, and I would love to, but the only thing I don't like about some countries in Europe is the weather. I can't stand cold weather.
Hmm.
And as you know, I'm living in Texas. Texas is super hot, and
Hmm.
I prefer to be in a not a cold places.
Hmm.
My preference is that, but it's not 100% the thing we can achieve. So I am open for any opportunities, and the priority is staying in the US because I am international students. I'm immigrated once, and I lived 5 years in this country, so I prefer to get something out of it and build my life here. And if this didn't happen or doesn't happen, I may think about Europe too. As you said, also Switzerland is a great country. I am also having entrepreneurship mindset. We are working on two different startups in health, and so I am on the industry route too. I prefer to get into the market and do
Hmm.
some uh, jobs that I can feel more the application of the stuff I learned. And it depends what happens in the future. But yeah, Europe is also great, has a lot of great positions that, but it's super competitive. I believe Europe is even more competitive than the US
Really?
these days.
I don't know. It could be. I don't know.
Yeah, but let's see, that's life, right?
Yeah.
I love this part of life, which is interesting, and we don't know what's gonna happen. We're doing our best, and let's see
Yeah.
where
No,
this
but
thing
I
gonna
mean,
take
as you
us.
said, you just recently graduated, so congratulations for that. But I don't know, maybe
Thank
we're
you.
feeling it the same way. For me, it's a little bit of the end of an era, so it's a very weird moment of my
Yeah,
life.
it
It's
is.
like exciting but bittersweet, but nice to get a change. But so it's a very weird moment, I think.
It is. And in US, I think the story is a little bit also different, especially for immigrants and
Mm.
international students, because of the a lot of tight deadlines that you have to meet to stay in the country,
Yeah.
and for the job opportunities and the work permit you have. It's not like Europe. Europe is really flexible. I have a lot of friends in almost European countries, and Europe is really nice
Hmm.
in terms of the regulations and the stuff they have.
Yeah, and I think especially if you're me being from Spain, I'm European Union, right? So then it really makes a difference. But I've also seen a lot of my colleagues that do not have an EU passport really struggle with these deadlines that you're talking about, and like perhaps they are not as I don't know how it is in the US, so I don't know if it's how fixed it is or whatever, but like I know for them it's also been tough here. So I think if you have an EU passport, everything is just like so simple. I never had to worry about this, in like I'm sort of spoiled in that sense. But yeah, I guess it's tough if you're not. So
Okay, Henar, I'm gonna ask questions about the lifestyle in the countries you visited. So you lived in Madrid for your bachelor, then you moved to Paris, and then Stockholm in Sweden, and also you had some experiences in Boston. So can you tell us about the lifestyle in these four different countries you lived? Which was the shocking or what happened as interesting part of the cultural stuff you've seen in these countries. Tell
Hmm.
us more about your life experience in these countries.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will just say in France, just as a disclaimer, I was there during COVID, so I don't think I can say much about the lifestyle because it was only 1 year and I would probably be very biased for this because it was all lockdown. So I will just maybe skip France in that sense. And of course, Spain for me it was never a shock because I'm Spanish. I'm born and raised there. Like that's all I ever knew. So nothing was really shocking to me. But I guess for me in Sweden, one thing that I really liked from the beginning is like I feel the Swedish culture is super respectful of your free time. And you're very encouraged to take holidays, to really like not like to have a very good work life balance. And that's how I felt in Sweden, which I really liked and I really appreciated. And of course, like university academia is academia. So I guess like work life balance is not that good in anywhere in academia. But I really felt like this Swedish culture really reflected on that, which doesn't mean that they are working less. It just means they are working from my perspective way more in a more productive way, right? Like so the time that you're at work. And you like I think for me it really helped to also have things outside of work to actually be able to like okay I have these hours to get my stuff done and then go. So that was like a positive cultural shock. I don't think I had any negative cultural shock in Sweden, or not one that comes like top of my head.
Tell us more about the difference in the in case of the weather, in case
Oh
of the
well, yeah.
sunset.
I
The
guess that's not cultural difference, but that's just like that was really tough for me. In Spain, we are like at the almost southernmost point of Europe, I guess, or like well, very south in Europe, at least. So I've my whole life, like the latest the sunset has been was like at 6 p.m. And then like the winters are very mild. I wouldn't say it's hot during the winter in Madrid, but it's not now I can confidently say it's not cold either because then I moved here in my first winter in Stockholm. Like all the lakes were frozen, all of this for me, this is something I've never seen. The sunset, like right now, we are like end of November. Today, the sunset was at 3 p.m., which it's something that you get used to, but not. So now I know what to expect, but I wouldn't say I'm used to it or I like it. It's horrible this time of the year for me and you really don't get any sunlight. The weather is really cold, but I think the coldness, for me at least, is not a problem. You just buy better clothes. It's rather the sunlight that you don't see the sun almost at all during the winter, and that's really, really tough. But then the Swedes, I don't know how really how much this is really true or it's just my colleagues joking around it, but like most people whoever can do it, like they take the holidays during November to be away during this time because it's just terrible. So they try to get out of the city here and like the summers are so nice. And try to spend time in Sweden during the summer because it's just fantastic. So that's sort of it. And then also, for example, the timetables are much more different in Spain than in Sweden. Like in, I don't know, you would still wake up early in Spain, but maybe you have lunch at like 2, 3 p.m. One is the earliest, I think. And dinner at like from 9 to 10, something like this. And this is really like I eat lunch from 11:30 to 12 every day, more or less. And that was like at the beginning a bit of a shock, but I like it. I got used to it, and now I suffer when I go back to Spain. I'm like, what are these crazy timetables? Why do we have to have lunch at 3 p.m.? But it's
so,
okay.
how about the hobbies in Sweden?
Mm.
Is it indoor or is it more outdoors? How you enjoy your free time?
So it depends on the season, of course. So during the summer, I think you cannot find me indoors anywhere, like almost not even working. If I can take my laptop outside and write outside, I will do it. Um, I really had to change my hobbies quite a bit, I think, moving here. Or like my mentality was, okay, now I live in this like super cold country. I need to be part of this culture and so on. So I started skiing and I started cross country skiing because in Stockholm you cannot really, I mean, I guess you could downhill ski, but it's not what people do. But you can cross country ski. That is like this is skiing that you do sort of, you can do in flat surfaces. So I started learning that and yeah, so I tried to still do a little bit of outdoor time during the winter by doing those. But I would say during the winter I do a lot of things indoors, and during the summer I'm outdoors all the time because of course during the summer is the opposite, like you have sunset at 11 p.m., so you have this many hours of sunlight, which is also crazy, but I love it. For me this is the best.
So
So
is it all Sweden getting dark, or is it some parts of the north of it, or
no, I mean on the north, like it's even more extreme. I guess it's
oh,
all through Sweden, but then it gets more extreme as you go north. Stockholm is not super far north, but I can tell you right now, like the sunset is at 3 p.m. So of course, the more north you go, it gets worse, and vice versa during the summer. So that's really cool and that's really different.
so do Swedish people have special strategies for this kind of system, or the life is just going by itself?
Mm, I think it's just like what I see from my Swedish colleagues many times. They are like, we are at the end of summer and they are thinking, like, oh, I can't wait for the winter. It's so cozy, it's so nice. And, there is like, I guess Scandinavian design is kind of famous everywhere. And moving here, I understood why, because during the winter, you spend so much time indoors that, like, all the houses, they are like so well put together and they are so cozy. And, like, it really invites you to stay home longer. So I think it's more like that. They do, as I said, during the winter, you tend to do more things indoors, or like all the cafes, they are like super cute in Stockholm, super cozy. So you do more plans like that because it's not nice to be outside in the street with minus 10 degrees. It's not always minus 10, but at some points it is minus 10 degrees Celsius. So then they tend to, I guess, do more of that and like have a really cozy home, and then like during the summer do more outdoor stuff.
I see. So how do you see people in Sweden in comparison to your own country? Are they more introvert? Are they what
Mm.
kind of difference you see between the when you're comparing your own country people to the Swedish people? Because of the weather, I'm feeling they should be different
Yeah,
in
yeah,
some
for
ways.
sure they're different. But in Spain, I guess like we are very stereotypically like loud and chatty, and like you sort of chat with everyone is, I guess, sort of the stereotype. Whether here, I have to say, like as in a superficial level, they are a bit more cold or distant and so on. But I think when you really become friends with them, they are very warm people as well. So I think it's just like entering, like breaking that first barrier of like approaching them, that maybe it's a bit more difficult than it would be in Spain. Of course, it's also, I'm completely biased on that, right? Because like I speak Spanish fluently and I don't speak Swedish fluently. So that's that's very difficult to make. I guess like everyone here speaks English very well, but if you hang out with your friends and family, you're gonna speak your mother tongue. So that's obviously like a barrier as an international, but I think they are very good people and very warm. That is maybe not what everyone would think. And I think they're very kind. I've never had like, I think, a bad experience with any Swedish person so far. So
And I think with uh, English language, you will be fine in
yeah,
Sweden, right?
yeah.
But if you know Swedish, you can make more friends, you can get into more communities, you can build really strong relationships with people. which is true
Mhm.
for every country, I believe.
Yeah.
So, um, Henar, how is the expenses in Sweden? I know Scandinavian countries are expensive in comparison to other countries. So, can you compare also the funding the PhD students receive? Is it enough for having a normal life in Sweden?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think sometimes I've discussed it with other friends that are doing PhDs in other countries, and I feel so grateful. It's like here we are very well off. I think, obviously, if you compare the PhD salary here with the industry salary, it's lower as PhD, obviously significantly lower. But then you're also considered a student by the state. So then you have access to all the student benefits, you have access to student housing, and all of that. That really makes a difference, right? Because I think if you go to the private market in Stockholm, housing can be really, really expensive. But because we are students or we qualify as students, then you can access really good deals in housing, which then compensate that difference that you have with an industry salary. And I mean, food is definitely more expensive than in Spain, but also Spain produces a lot of food, so it makes sense here. Like, I think not a lot of things grow during the winter, so they need to ship things. So it's more expensive, but I think the salary is very fair for what you get, and you can live a very comfortable life with a PhD salary. Um, and how it's funded is, I believe there are several ways to fund it, but like I think the route that most people go through is like your professor or your PI will get funding or a grant or whatever, and then they need to show that they have money to pay you for the next 4 or 4.5 years. That is the duration of the PhD here. And then if they show that, they can open a position and then hire you, and then you're not required to look for your own funding. Like the moment you're hired for in my case it was 4.5 years. Some other universities have 4 years established. But once you get your contract is for the whole duration of your PhD.
I see. Yeah, makes sense. That's great.
Hmm.
So, for students who are planning to come to Sweden as a PhD students, what do you see as challenges for the students who are entering to the Sweden? Something like finding housing or getting to know the places. What
Hmm.
was hard for you to adapt yourself with in your first days of entering to the Sweden?
Yeah, I think for me, honestly, it was really easy. I'm at KTH. I don't know if every other university has this. I know some other universities like KI in Sweden also has this. But I was offered housing from the university for the first year, and then that gives you basically 1 year to settle in and look for housing outside of like the university. So that was really easy. I think it was a very smooth transition. If you're coming as a master student, then it depends. If you're coming within the EU, then you sort of need to find your own housing, but it's fairly easy because there is like the student accommodations and so on. I think if you're coming only for like maybe 6 months, then it's more tricky because you really need to look through Facebook Market and so on, and you will not have access most likely to student accommodation and so on. But otherwise, I think that's very easy. And I was also very lucky that I had some colleagues that most of my colleagues were international. So they just really guided me through the process. So I just had to get myself here. And then now is one of my best friends, but like he just like took a checklist and he was like, you need to do this, and that. So in my case, I cannot say it was difficult.
Yeah, that was my second question about the Sweden part of the story. How diverse is the country that you moved
Mm,
to?
I think pretty diverse. I don't know. Like as a country, I don't know. I don't have the statistics top of my head. In the university is absolutely international. I think that's one of the reasons I don't speak Swedish fluently, unfortunately, because we are all internationals. So I think in my department, when I arrived, maybe we were like 50 people, out of which six or so were Swedish, and the rest were, well, maybe six is an understatement, but like maybe one fifth were Swedish, and then the other were internationals. So it was a very international environment from the beginning. And yeah.
If you go back, would you choose PhD in Stockholm, KTH again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So let's move to the United States part of the story. How different was US in comparison to the Sweden, to your previous experiences? Did you get anything shocking, exciting, interesting when you entered to the US? And which port did you enter to the US?
And which what?
From which port? Which state?
Yeah. Okay. So I came to Massachusetts, Boston. Well, Boston, Massachusetts. Sorry. Yeah. And yeah, I was only there for 6 months. My experience in Boston was that it was a very, from my perspective, very European city. I didn't have any. I expected to have this like huge cultural shocks, but I did not. Like, and it was really, really nice. I have to say, I already had previously lived in the U.S. when I was an exchange student in high school, and I was in Tennessee, and that was a proper like cultural experience, which was fantastic. But I didn't have any cultural shock in Boston. I think I just thought it was great. I had only positive cultural shocks. I guess it's like such a technological city. Like you can feel like everyone that I met was so smart. I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like I don't know. And I guess you see kind of always everywhere, even from Europe, like, oh, MIT and Harvard, and these are like the best universities in the world. And I think I was a bit doubtful about this, or I was like, yeah, let's see about it. And then it really changed my mind. I was like, oh, well, this is incredible. The amount of money you have for research is just in a completely different league. Um, I think I was extremely lucky with my group in Boston. It was so nice. So it was just such a fantastic experience all around, and I had a great time. I was very motivated also academically, and I just really enjoyed it overall. So I cannot say I didn't. It was just really cool.
So what did you learn from your experience in the US, especially in Harvard?
No, what did I learn? I learned a lot of things. I think academically speaking, I was working, it was a bit different than in my lab here, that I've worked mostly alone, which it teaches you a lot of things, but it gets really lonely sometimes. And there I was working with, always with one postdoc that I was just working the same project as him, and I learned so much from him, and in the way of like thinking, on the way he did things and everything. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the collaborations and the being able to discuss science basically on a daily basis, and not only on like group meetings. So that was really great. A really great thing that I got from it. And I also really liked from Harvard that I felt everyone had a voice. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like I felt all the voices in the group, everyone's opinion was valued and encouraged to be given. And like, it's not like here, it's not like that. No one is ever like mean to you, but I felt like people were much more outspoken about like what they thought without thinking, oh, these people would be judgmental towards me or whatever. So that I really liked, and um, I took it back with me. So that was great.
Interesting. So how was the applying process for this visiting scholar position? Can you tell us, definitely some students are interested to get this opportunities, and if you can tell, how did you do that, and how was the financial supporting for that, and Generally, anything you think is important to know about this transition.
Yes, so I cannot say so much about the finances. So that was like kind of handled by my university in Sweden. So I would prefer not to get too much into that. But the applying process, in my case, it was easy but stressful. Easy in the sense that I met the professor at a conference, and then we had a very good talk. And then we kind of saw there was a lot of synergies of the two things that we were working on. And then he also knew my one of my supervisors, so then that was a good entry point, because I feel sometimes if you just like message someone that you don't really know and your supervisors also don't really know, maybe the success rate for those things are not that high. And they also happen to be working on sepsis and sepsis diagnosis, EMR. So then I just like a few months afterwards asked my one of my supervisors for a little recommendation, and then we started to contact him, and then he said, yeah, it would be great for you to come. And my supervisors here also thought it would be valuable for my PhD, so I was very lucky to be supported on that front as well. And then the paperwork was really stressful, but from what I've discussed with a lot of people, that's always stressful, because there is so many things to do that you don't realize like at the beginning, and it's like it's a never-ending paperwork um, story. So I think contacting the professor and like setting up like what we were going to do was really easy. Then the paperwork was hard, and then I was really stressed because it was not so clear for me what I was going to be working on. So of course I was stressing about this, but then everything worked out super well. But it was a very stressful thing to do, I have to say. At the moment I was like, why am I doing this? Like but then I was very happy I did it. So that's also
That
true.
that that was a great experience, definitely, and
Mm,
also your CV is definitely more stronger now.
thank
Having
you.
Harvard University in the CV is not an easy thing.
Mm,
Even is super challenging for students who living inside the US. It's really
mm,
hard to get into Harvard,
mm.
and you did a great job. What is your favorite country so far between the countries you lived?
This is a challenging question. Like it depends for what, right? So,
Yeah, you can pick different countries for different reasons, but explain us why.
for food, Spain, like by far. I like, and of course for food, for family, for like always, like I'm always sure that if I go to Spain, I will feel at home. For science, I would say the US, for science, technology, and so on. And Sweden, I think maybe overall, but now I'm maybe just biased because I've been here for 4.5 years and I really feel at home here. So now this really feels like my home, and I love Swedish people, culture. I'm just like on board with all of it. And I think it's not only Sweden, it's maybe Stockholm that I really, really like the city and everything. But like, yeah, we could say for like work life balance and like having a happy life, I would say Stockholm is a great place. And for social benefits as well, like thinking, for example, I don't know, about like having families or like all those things that I think now as we get older, we start to think about. I think that's the best country by far.
Nice. If you weren't a scientist, what would you be?
Well, I would be a cook. So,
Cook. Okay, what is the best food you can cook?
oh, I don't know. I don't think I have a best dish.
So imagine your best friends coming to your place. What
And
would you cook for them?
I need to make something that I need to be sure is going to be good.
Okay,
Is that like the question? Like I need to make something that I'm really sure, like, oh, I'm going to make a very good dish. Mm. Then I don't know. I think I make a very good paella, like the Spanish dish with rice. I think I also make really good carbonara. So I would go, like, if I want to play it safe, I would make one of those two.
Nice. Yeah, Spain is a. I've had a lot of conversations, and one of the other podcasts I did was with Lucia. She was also from Spain, but she's studying at DTU, Denmark Technical University.
Mhm.
We had an interesting conversation, and Spain is a great place. I have so many friends living in Spain, and they are super happy. And they're saying me, okay, after you got some money, you passed this kind of researcher life and reach to the stable life, then move to Spain. Spain is a great place to live in case of the weather, hobbies, and the people.
Hmm.
Everyone is really happy, having really great life in Spain.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
are you a fan of sports as a Spanish person? You should love soccer or football.
Well, sorry to disappoint. No, I don't follow
No.
soccer so much. I know this is the universal question you get when you say you're Spanish. So you're from Spain, like Madrid or Barcelona, like which
And
soccer?
also you, which city you're from?
I'm from a very small city in the region of Madrid.
Madrid. And
So
you're not a
not
fan
from the
of
big city, but like from the outskirts.
how you live in Madrid area and you are not fan of soccer, especially
Yeah,
Real Madrid.
I
Uh,
know.
so what sports you like? You said you love swimming.
Yeah, so I'm a swimmer. I've been a swimmer my whole life. So that's, I guess, my sport, and a very, very boring sport to watch for those that don't like swimming. I love it. I have a blast watching swimming meets. But I can understand that not everyone is on board with that. So I quite follow swimming. And then I also like to do other sports like running, skiing, and so on. But now I'm getting into biking, but then I don't watch those. So I would say, yeah, I only watch swimming.
I see. Yeah, swimming is great.
Boring, sorry.
And no, it's not boring. It's also short, right? Swimming doesn't last for 3 hours or 2 hours.
Well, not a single race, but
Swimmers.
if you watch all the races in one swim meet, then yeah, you will be watching for 3 or 4 hours, I guess.
I see. I see. If you introduce yourself in 3 words, what would you say?
I would say I'm passionate, I'm messy, and I'm smart. I would say those three.
Messy. I like that.
But you gotta be honest.
Yeah.
If it's only positive things, I can say other word. But if we are being honest, that's the truth.
Yeah, what one message you would like to give to people like yourself who want to start the journey of being a researcher, starting a PhD? What would it be?
That it's. I guess this is something someone told me at the beginning of my PhD, and it was very helpful for me. That the PhD is like a marathon; it's not a sprint. So you need to like really build that perseverance and like just hang in there because there is going to be times that are very tough, but then it's a very rewarding journey as well. So to not want to have everything at the beginning because this will not happen and it will just lead to frustration. So just take it as a marathon.
That's great. Do you see yourself as a happy person?
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
Now maybe it's a little tough because I'm writing my thesis, but I think I'm still happy through the process.
yeah, I love your energy. You have a really strong and good vibe, so I can feel it even in online conversation. So, what is your definition for happiness?
I'm not super philosophical. I don't know. For me to be happy, I need to hang out with my friends or be around friends and family that I love, have good food and do sports. So it's pretty simple for me. That's all I need really, I think.
Nice. So, Henar, I think I almost covered all of my questions, and that was really great conversation to have you in this podcast and have this conversation with you. I really appreciate the time you spent today with us, and I hope everyone enjoyed the conversation. And the last words from your side, if there is anything I missed that you want to talk about, or any advice, or anything you want to say at the last words, we can hear.
No, just thanks so much for having me. And if anyone has any other questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer. And thanks a lot for inviting me for this. This was very exciting.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching us today. Take care, and see you soon with another interesting videos coming up. Thank you.